Hey everybody, it's Yophi here coming to you with a movie review. And I don't do these as much. I usually just post them to Facebook, but I decided to do a movie this time on a movie review. I've become very selective of what I watch because nowadays the messages that come across in movies are not always appropriate for someone who's Christ-like. Jesus paid a price to get certain things out of our minds. I used to be heavily involved in a lot of things that don't produce life. They didn't produce life in me, my family, my children, my wife, and it didn't produce life for those around me. So I don't want to sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and watch something that Jesus paid a price to get out. So I did want to do this movie review, though. I just yesterday went and saw the movie Overcomer, and I recommend it to anyone who is Christian or non-Christian. You should go see this movie because it's by the Kendrick brothers, and these are my favorite directors and producers right now. They produced and directed and wrote the movies Facing the Giants, Fireproof, War Room, and Courageous, and Fly Boys. I haven't seen Fly Boys, but those four movies, these are four of my favorite movies. So I was going into this one with some expectations. The reason as to why I love their movies is because each one has a theme. And Fireproof was centered on marriage, and Courageous was centered on fatherhood. War Room was centered on prayer. So the thing is that as a father, Courageous was always my favorite. I always loved how they took a godly perspective for fatherhood. So in my book, you couldn't top that. For this movie, Overcomer, it is probably on the level of Courageous to me. It is a godly approach to abandonment and identity and what you put your identity in. So the movie, I'm trying not to spoil it, but it does center around a young lady who was abandoned by her father, and just the coach, his identity was more in his coaching and his teaching than his identity in Christ. So all of those issues are addressed, and they executed this movie so well. The Kendrick brothers are getting so well. They're doing so well at writing and producing these films that before it was just a good message. Now it's a good movie combined with that good message. So I recommend to go see it. Out of 10, I would probably give this movie an 8.5 to 9. So I'll say 8.75. There were very few things that were not acceptable in this movie. And by that, I just mean scenes that I could predict. When I watch movies now, I can pretty much predict where it goes. I've seen so many movies and read so many books and things. So there are times when I'm looking at a movie and I'm like, okay, I already know what's going to happen. So I couldn't really do that in this movie because it kept you involved. I also love the fact that people were able to come together. We actually discussed this movie afterwards. People were walking out and we were talking and we were discussing. We got to pray afterwards. Some people got healed afterwards, and it's amazing that a movie could do that. So I would really rate this very high on the list. If you want to go see it, I will put a link in the description to somewhere. I'll find a link so that you could see what this movie is about. I recommend that you take your whole family to see it. Kids can come in here, right, and see it. And so the whole family can come in and actually watch this movie. And you can't see that a lot in America. So Overcomer, it's about identity, and it's also about abandonment for those of us who did not have correct homes. What is it? 77% of African Americans are born into broken homes. It addresses these issues. and how we can deal with them in a godly way, in a way that does not cause harm and hurt to somebody else. You don't live at the expense of others. How do you win? How do you overcome? So go check it out, and God bless everyone. Leave me a comment. All right.